So I wanted to discuss with you 9 reasons why taking on a specialist creative consultancy this year could be one of the smartest moves you make. The world that we work in the creative industry, there's so much movement and everything that we do is unique and often very complex to do. And you can't always guarantee to have the right people in-house to help you do those tasks or do them to the level that you want to do. And I think especially in 2020, when effectively the world broke a bit, and now everyone's kind of working virtually, they're working from home, and they're working much more flexibly. And I don't really think that's going to change now. I think it's going to become a thing, which means the teams are going to have to work a little bit harder, and it might be a little bit more difficult to join the dots as you're working on projects. But let's explore an example that I think many of us will face this year or ongoing. So, we've been chasing after a client. We just won that client, and we're really happy about that. As a creative agency, we know that we can deliver what we need to do, but we also know that we're going to have to make some complicated content because the digital world is changing. The visual work that we're making is becoming more complex, and the client demands more. So you know that you can do what you can do, but you don't know enough about a specific niche of what you're going to propose to your client. And I think this is where we hit roadblocks, because we know that we don't have the time to research and really feel confident in our knowledge to know how to deliver something in this complex format, because we've got our own work to do. This will take huge amounts of time. Now, the other option is that we could give it to one of our team members, often a junior, and they could go and research it for us. But the problem is they'll probably know less about it than you because they're not quite so embedded in the project. So you get back to the same problem of who do we go to ask this expert advice? Who do we go to that's going to guarantee us be able to deliver the project and make the client happy and basically wow the client? Because what we often find is that we try to do things ourselves, but we're not supposed to know all the knowledge. And I think that's where coming into connection or finding the right specialised creative consultancy is a really smart move, especially in this modern day of working. So I'd like to go over these nine reasons why I think creative consultancies really can help. Many companies go through and create amazing productions, but to try and take the stress out of the production so you can get on and focus on the needle mover stuff that you need to do rather than the stuff that you don't need to know. So first of all is a creative consultant will take your problem and make it theirs, and they'll generally come back with a killer solution straight off. And a good creative consultancy, when you meet the right one, will be, as you're talking to them, they're going to be coming up with the solution in their head, and they'll probably even come up with the solution before you even finish the conversation with them. And the great thing about it is that they come with that knowledge, they come with that understanding and experience that they've generally leveraged from doing this project, possibly with another client in another format or across another industry. Now, the next reason 2, a good creative consultant will also see additional opportunity. And what that means is they can see possibly things where you may have missed because you're so close in on the project. When you're busy working away doing, for example, the creative direction, then you might have missed certain other parts of the jigsaw that you could present to client, because I would hasten to say, and this happens a lot of time I think with most projects, is when you get nearer to the end of a project, end client might have spoken to somebody in his team who might have seen something else somewhere that their competitors are doing, and they'll say, oh, can we do this? Now, what a good creative consultant will do is they'll be asking the difficult questions up front so they know that they've covered all of the bases, and then they've designed the pipeline of how to make the content so you can still deliver on time and on budget. Because nothing worse than the client coming back and saying, oh, well, can we now do this? Which means you need to then go backwards, either redo work, which costs more money and takes more time. Reason 3, and this is an important one, is that they will free up your internal team's time so they can do the needle mover work that they're being paid for, and then the consultant can do the expert work that they know how to do. And this often happens quicker than trying to do it yourself, because what we find when we're working in situations when we're not sure about what we're doing is we're taking calculated risks on, is this the right method to do something? Is this the right team to work to? Are we speaking the right language? And will this get done? Reason 4 is that consultancies are all about relationships, not transactions. So what that means is that a creative consultancy is working with you, and they're looking at the bigger picture for your project. They're not just looking to do a one-off commission and move on to the next project. They're invested in the project emotionally similar as you are, and they're working and always thinking about the optimum solutions to get the project through the pipeline and presented to client on the same level playing field as you are. They're not coming at it as a supplier situation only, where you're basically a hired gun. You know, the consultant is invested emotionally in the project as much as probably you are as well. Reason 5 is working with consultancy companies rather than individuals. Now, this is quite important because when you're embarking on big, complex content-based productions, it's sometimes difficult to work with an individual for 2 reasons. One is the obvious: life happens around us. So there will be illness, there will be holidays, there will be technology failures. And that often means that they don't have the infrastructure to back them up. Whereas a creative consultancy company has that infrastructure to back up and has built that infrastructure over years. So if there is a problem, there's always a point of contact and accountability on the project. And also a typical scenario is that sometimes when consultancies may not feel that the project is working for them, and this is an individual, and they might go and take a full-time paid job with somebody else, so they disappear. When you're working with a consultancy company, and we're not talking about the big lumbering beasts, I think you know who we're talking about. We're talking about a small, agile, creative consultancy company that has numerous experts within their group that come together as a mastermind when they add massive value to your production and your company. Reason 6 is they add instant scalability to your business. Now, I think this is something that many companies don't utilize, is when you find the right specialist creative consultancy, for example, in the complex content creation. They allow, by aligning and engaging with them, you can spin up literally a whole new service arm to your business without extensive periods of trying to find the staff, expensive costs in technology and software setup, and then trying to get the knowledge and experience and portfolio to validate the project to give out to to sell out to your clients. So they can basically add that instant scalability, and they can be dialed down or dialed up whenever you need. So this is a really super useful thing when you've got that creative consultancy, because it's a consultancy, it's a service in a box. So I think that's something, if you can kind of get your mind to think about it that way, it's massively helpful and validates the use of consultancy. Also, by using an expert creative consultancy will help you open doors. So when you're working with a creative consultancy, they speak the right language. They'll know when you're ready to go and brief out a production company, and the creative consultancy might not be doing the end deployment of the project. So there might be a production company that you really want to work with. But if they're a popular production company, then their books are generally quite full and it's very difficult to work with them. So if you present to them a very loose, weak brief, then you're not even going to get to the point where they're going to quote for you. They'll just say, you need to come back to us with a solid brief, and then we can consider whether we can spend the time to brief on you, because we're concentrating on the clients that are ready for us to work with them, because we have a limited window. Whereas a creative consultancy knows exactly what to say, the questions to ask, and can move those inquiries through quicker, so you get a meaningful answer out of a production company that you might want to work with. Reason 7. Now, we covered it briefly at the front. The world has changed. So what the creative consultancy does is it forms your bridge. It performs and forms the bridge between the initial idea and the creation of the content. Because this is so important, because now the way everybody is working is different than what we did a year ago. Lots of holes appear, lots of problems occur, and you do need to get the bridge between the idea and the creation. So this is, I think, one of the most important functions that a creative consultant can add to your business. Reason 8. Now, you can use and leverage a creative consultant's existing portfolio of projects that they've done. This is fantastic when you're initially talking to a client trying to pitch in an idea or content. Now, if that consultancy has a really strong portfolio, then half of the work is almost done. And when you engage with a creative consultant, so they will give you access to their back catalogue. So it means that you can speed up the time that your end client might take by getting the confidence that the solution you're putting forwards is the right one by seeing work that is very relevant to what they want to create. And again, if you engage with a creative consultancy and they are the right type of company with the right back catalogue of work, it's a huge benefit and a massive draw to bring new clients in, because they can see samples and the quality of the work that they will have done. And reason 9, if you engage with the right creative consultancy, they can actually make the production for you, as well as doing the design and discovery stage and getting you production ready. Now, I think this is one of the unique things that's happened in the last 5 years is there's so many different types of creative consultancies that have sprung up now, purely and simply because of the requirement for much more content to be created in different technologies and different formats. So these creative consultancies have evolved and been born. So when you find the right creative consultancy, they will open you out to their own creative collectives, their own teams of experts and content makers that you probably would never even heard of or had access to. So they can hold your hand all the way through and then deliver an outstanding project, relieving the stress because you've built a relationship with the consultant, they've been with you on the journey for the project, and now they know the exact right team to put in place who they trust that will deliver your project on time, on brief, and on budget. So I hope that some of these tips are going to be helpful to you to see how using a specialist creative consultancy this year could be a smart move for you to help you move your projects through quicker and create great, amazing, stunning content and relieve the stress out of the process. So I hear you say, what does your creative consultancy do? Well, here at Imaginar, we are experts in creating, as you probably would have guessed, very complex digital content, and that comes in the form of images, animation, VFX, film, immersive experience, real-time interactive 3D. We're quite unique where we cover both the design and discovery and the production. So we like to think we sit on the intersection between creativity and technology, because what we've been doing for the last 14 years is born out of CGI and doing digital artwork. So we've delivered thousands and thousands of projects, all of different types. But what we understand is the importance of doing step 1, the design and discovery, step 2, the actual production, and holding it in the same hand. Because this is the way we use content now and with technology is intersecting. And as I say, that's where we exist, is to demystify the complicated for you, to enable you to make that impossible thing real and deliver world-class digital content. So as I say, I hope some of these tips have given you a little bit of understanding of how creative consultants can work with you. And if the opportunity comes up, then we would love to work with you and discuss the projects with you.